Welcome back. Today I am going to tell you about one of the most terrifying horror legends of all time. So before starting, please subscribe to NMBY. First horror legend is the clown statue. A few years ago, a mother and a father decided they needed a break, so they wanted to head out for a night on the town. So they called their most trusted babysitter. When the babysitter arrived, the two children were already fast asleep in bed. So the babysitter just got to sit around and make sure everything was okay with the children. Later in the night, the babysitter got bored and so she wanted to watch TV, but she couldn't watch it downstairs because they didn't have cable downstairs. The parents didn't want their children watching too much garbage, so she called them and asked them if she could watch cable TV in the parents' room. Of course the parents said it was okay, but the babysitter had one final request. She asked if she could cover up the large clown statue in their bedroom with a blanket or cloth, because it made her nervous. The phone line was silent for a moment, and the father, who was talking to the babysitter at the time, said ... "Take the children and get out of the house ... We'll call the police ... We don't have a clown statue ... The children and the babysitter got murdered by the clown. It turned out to be that the clown was a killer that escaped from jail. If you don't repost to 10 peeps within 5 minutes, the clown will be standing next to your bed at 3 a.m. with a knife in his hand. In other versions of this story, the clown is actually a midget who has escaped from a local jail. He hides in the house to avoid capture and poses like a statue to avoid detection. In other versions, the intruder is a murderous sex offender with designs on the babysitter. Let's do some analysis about this, like the babysitter and the man upstairs. This urban legend pits a lone teenage babysitter against a male intruder who has surreptitiously entered the house. It's disturbing on many counts, not least the hint of pedophilia in the revelation that the midget disguised as a clown has been spying on or playing with someone's children before his presence in the house is discovered. It may be that an urban legend like this one is inspired by real-life events in the 1970s, 80s, and later. The best known is John Wayne Gacy, who during the mid-1970s murdered 33 young men and buried their bodies under his Chicago home. The media christened him the Killer Clown because he was known for hosting neighborhood parties at which he dressed up as a clown. Gacy was eventually convicted and put to death for his crimes in 1994, but his legend lives on in documentaries, books, even clown-themed artwork Gacy painted while in prison. It was probably the Gacy case and the publicity surrounding it that sparked a wave of phantom clown sightings in 1981. The phenomenon, as documented by Lauren Coleman in Mysterious America, Boston, Faber and Faber, 1983, originated in Boston with unconfirmed reports of men dressed as clowns trying to lure children into vans. Eventually, sightings were reported in 10 other states. In 1990, a West Palm Beach, Florida, woman was shot and killed on her doorstep by a clown sporting a bright orange wig. It's also possible that these clown legends were inspired by popular horror films and books. The 1982 movie Poltergeist contains scenes in which a very creepy clown doll terrorizes two young children in their bedroom. Stephen King's It, published in 1986, spawned a popular TV movie in Nights Down the Road, about 10 miles, she said, climbing into the back seat. There's an intersection with an abandoned gas station. Across from there, it's a white house with a rose garden. They're waiting for me. As they made their way north again, Heather attempted to make conversation, but the girl fell silent and slumped in the back seat, apparently asleep. After about 15 minutes, Nathan spotted a dilapidated service station. "Is this it?" he asked. "Hey, is this the intersection?" Heather turned to wake the young woman and caught her breath. "Nathan, she's gone." "What do you mean, she's gone?" Nathan said, pulling into the driveway of the White House. "How can she be gone? She was right. The hitchhiker had vanished. A light came on and two people, an elderly couple, stepped out onto the porch. "Can we help you?" the man asked. He looked as though he dreaded hearing the answer. "I don't know," Nathan began. "We were driving, and we picked up this hitchhiker, a girl. And she gave you this address," said the man, "and asked you to bring her home." "Yes," said Heather. "And then she was gone?" Heather nodded. "You aren't crazy," the man said. "And you're not the first. She was our daughter. Her name was Diane. She passed away 7 years ago, killed by a hit-and-run driver on the highway. They never caught whoever did it. I guess her spirit won't rest until they do." Nathan and Heather were speechless. "Won't you come inside for coffee or tea?" said the woman. "You've had a shock. Come in and sit down." "No. Thank you, but no. We're late," said Heather. "We have to get going." After exchanging uncomfortable goodbyes, the newlyweds departed, as they had arrived, in stunned silence. Let's do some analysis about this. Thanks to the excesses of Hollywood, our expectations of ghost stories have came to include unrelenting violence and gore, but these were never integral to the genre. Ghost stories of old traded in the mysterious and the uncanny. They were about fleeting encounters between the living and the dead, the latter being portrayed as desperate souls stuck between life and the afterlife, unable to rest in peace. There's a fundamental melancholy to these stories, which are more apartment to raise goosebumps than shrieks of terror. The Vanishing Hitchhiker is a ghost story in the traditional mold. Jan Harold Brunvand, who literally wrote the book on this somber tale, The Vanishing Hitchhiker, American Urban Legends and Their Meanings, 1981, described it as the most often collected and the most discussed contemporary legend of all. It was given a unique entry in Bauman's Type and Motif Index of the Folk Tales of England and North America, 1966 edition. Ghost of young woman asks for ride in automobile, disappears from closed car without the driver's knowledge, after giving him address to which she wishes to be taken. The driver asks person at the address about the rider, finds she has been dead for some time. Often the driver finds that the ghost has made similar attempts to return, usually on anniversary of death in automobile accident. Often, too, the ghost leaves some items such as a scarf or a traveling bag in the car. Variants of The Vanishing Hitchhiker are told all over the world, each imbued with its own local color and details. In Chicago, the homesick ghost is known as Resurrection Mary and is said to haunt Resurrection Cemetery in nearby Justice, Illinois. In Northern California she is known as the Niles Canyon Ghost, or White Witch of Niles Canyon, in Dallas, the Lady of White Rock Lake. In Spanish-speaking countries, she's often referred to as La Chica de la Garza. I'm fascinated by the undercurrent of grief that runs through this legend. The ghost grieves for the loss of her home and her parents grieve for her. Grief is a natural emotion, but here it's protracted because the lost loved one continually reappears. Is it a subtextual argument for the necessity of letting go? One could make such a case if this were a literary work, but it's not. It's folklore. In the absence of a sole authorial voice, the most we can say is that the story gives visceral expression to our feelings about that most vexing of human predicaments, mortality. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed.